Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport. Drag racing. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, March 29th, 2023. Let me fix this camera angle here just a touch. Hope y'all are doing well. Remember, help us spread and share the gospel of drag racing. Click like, click subscribe, click follow, click share, whatever button you want to click. Just click one of them, maybe two, whatever. If you're feeling froggy, click three. Just help us spread the gospel of drag racing. This is what it takes to keep our sport in the limelight. Tons and tons and tons of stuff to cover today. We've got a barn burner of a show for you, no doubt. A little after the 3 o'clock hour, we're going to be joined by recent NHRA Arizona Nationals top fuel winner Justin Ashley. But before that, man, more staging drama out at the NHRA Arizona Nationals in Phoenix. Another sellout, first-time win for Camry Caruso and Pro Stock. Robert Height, Justin Ashley, as I mentioned, both going to the winner's circle. Tons and tons of stuff to cover. PDRA season opener coming up this weekend at Galat Motorsports Park. And I guess really the first back-to-back weekends of NHRA action as the NHRA rolls into Pomona, California for the third race of the season. Never going to quite get used to talking about Pomona in this order of events. But anyways, we got a lot to cover, and we really genuinely appreciate you being here and being a part of it each and every week. JT, what's going on, buddy? We're down a man today. Mike Carpenter, a little under the weather, trying to push through and get the latest issue of Drag Illustrated knocked out. So anyways, it's just T and I today. What's up, big dog? You doing well,
man? Yeah, man.
No, dude, I can't complain, man. It's a great day. It's a fantastic day.
We don't have Mike, so it's even better today.
I'm joking, Mike.
Yeah, I'm joking, buddy.
You're gonna get a lot of airtime today.
Oh no.
Are you excited? Is
Not really, no.
No, man. Well, hey, let's dive right in. I do want to quickly shout out all of our, thank you so much to our sponsors that make this show possible each and every week. Of course, Stroud Safety, the guys at Flow Racing, and of course, Redline Synthetic Oils. Appreciate all you guys being a part of this. Remember to support those that support us. JT, let's get right into it. The NHRA Arizona Nationals. I think let's start with these high tide moments that are good for the whole sport. How exciting was it to see another sellout crowd? I mean, you saw those photos. The place was packed. It's a little unfortunate, potentially the last time the NHRA rolls into what was.
I wonder if a weekend like that, though, doesn't change some minds or, alter what they, were perceiving to happen. I mean, how can you shut something like that down?
I think
why would you?
Why would you? I mean, for me, the Phoenix market's important. I mean, I think drag racing has such roots on the West Coast, and to see that event and that weekend, that stop on the NHRA tour go away is like really sad. I will say that you could sense on social media, on every driver interview, no one was like slamming the door shut. That was my takeaway from the weekend. Yep. No one was willing to say, this is it, put a bow on it, it's over. Everybody was like, if this is the last time we go to Phoenix, if maybe, who knows, don't know what's happening. So I think clearly that the fate of Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park is not sealed. In my opinion, it's clearly still up in the air. And you're right, T, with that kind of fan turnout, I don't know how you walk away from something like that. I mean, there were people everywhere, and to see the NHRA do it, I mean, let's give it up to the NHRA. Everybody loves to bag on these guys. Their drag racing is like universal punching bag. Everybody loves to bag on the NHRA and rake them across the coals anytime they get a chance, but we got to give it up to them when they deserve it. And to start the season with back-to-back sellouts, for me, it feels like a really, really good thing for the sport of drag
Most
racing.
people, though, like if you're looking at social media or whatever, most people don't realize how many people are at these races anyway. You know, they're like, oh my God, NHRA needs to take notes or something. These races are pretty well attended. I mean, it just kind of makes me laugh when somebody says something like, really? I mean, and the venues that they're at are so much bigger. So, I mean, that alone makes the crowd, you know, if you put that crowd into a smaller drag, you know, at a smaller location, it's going to look just crazy.
Dude, that's
it's
the
like
thing.
Woodstock.
So, yeah, that's the thing that I believe is often, there's a couple of things that need to be touched on. First and foremost, I think as a sport, not to get on my high horse here, but we got to quit pretending like people think drag racing's dead. I haven't talked to anybody in 10 years who has told me that drag racing's dead. So when I see one post after another, like, and they said drag racing was dead. Who is saying that shit? Nobody. I haven't heard. Listen, I spend my every day, every waking moment of my life immersed in drag racing. I've not had anybody tell me it was dead. And I really haven't, man. I've not encountered, but these posts constantly like, look at the crowd, you know, and they said drag racing's dead. People think drag racing is dying. I haven't heard that stuff. And I got to ask our community here, quit saying that shit. Like, stop. No one's saying that other than you. Like, there's a group of people that cannot wait to try to keep that storyline going, and it's just not even remotely close to true. There is no chance that anyone who is paying attention and actually has a meaningful interest, right, like in the sport of drag racing, it isn't just trying to be that guy. Like, there's always going to be that guy that can't wait to say something negative, can't wait to be a wet blanket.
People are wired that way. People are wired that way.
People are wired that way. And so, but they're like the exception, you know, like, let them do that. You're always going to have my daughter has all of a sudden gotten into Care Bears, which has really been a reality check for me.
And then you gave her your collection from when you were a kid. Dude,
they're celebrating their 40th anniversary.
Really?
Yeah. The 40th anniversary of Care Bears is happening as we speak, JT.
And I remember those little things on their stomachs or something like that.
Tenderheart.
Tenderheart.
Right, Tenderheart, yeah. I actually sketched him last night. But anyways, my point is this. There's always going to be a wet blanket, grumpy bear, or whatever, sad face person. And those people are always going to exist. But we shouldn't support their cause. Let them go yell in the basement of their grandparents' house at the wall, right? Let them do that. But as a sport, no one is saying, especially no one that's in a position of power or more, no one that's in a position of influence is saying that drag racing is dead. I thought about this over the weekend. You think about what we saw this past weekend, okay? So we've got NHRA selling out the NHRA Arizona Nationals for 2 days straight, and a significant crowd on Sunday, which I can attest, and anybody who's in the biz can attest, is extremely difficult to accomplish. Sunday crowds are hard, and that Sunday crowd out there at the Arizona Nationals was legit, right? We've also got 200 bracket cars racing at Virginia Motorsports Park. Tyler Crossno was posting that on social. 200 cars in a bracket race, a big money bracket race out there. We've got Corey Stamper and his squad putting on a back of the track race at Rockingham Dragway, right? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we've got cars racing backwards up the drag strip in the Carolinas. We've got bracket cars. There's events going on every weekend. We've got the Street Outlaws on finishing up a world tour. I mean, wrap your head around this. No one thinks drag racing is dead. I challenge you all, quit putting that stuff into the atmosphere. Quit putting it on your social. No one thinks drag racing is dead. There were 50 funny cars and 25 fuel altereds at the Texas Motorplex this past weekend for the season opening Funny Car Chaos event, the house that Chris Graves built. I mean, there's so many good things going on in the sport of drag racing. There's a successful event on every street corner, but we've got a handful of folks getting on the internet every week talking about how, well, they said it's dead. You know, stop. We've got to all stop. We've got to rise above.
It's just the negative talk altogether. I mean, it's constant with some people. And I think
Radial Outlaws, Billy Carroll, shout out, man.
Yeah.
The Radial Outlaw Championship Series. Our sport has been crying for a championship series for radial tire racing. And Scott Tidwell, Eric Diller, Donald Long, Debbie, Bud, everybody, they made it happen. They said, you guys want a championship series? By God, we'll give you one. And I talked to Al Tucci on the phone last night, and he told me that place had a hell of a crowd on Saturday. And I saw the numbers, man. Car count, killer, right? X275 and Pro 275 are hot like fire. Big action. I mean, that's my point, T, is when I look around the sport, and I beg everybody to really let this sink in, like really embrace this moment in this conversation. Our sport is really doing well. Drag racing is rocking and rolling. Perhaps we are in the golden days of drag racing right now. We are living in the good old days. People 20, 30, 40 years from now will reflect back on the 2020s and go, man, drag racing was like taking over the world at that point in time, right? And it's just, I want people to help us spread that message. Put that on your social media timeline, right?
Billy Carroll says the competition was tough, and across the board. Like, I don't care what drag race you went to. The competition right now is so tight. I mean, holy shit.
Bro.
You can almost flip a quarter on the line, betting. I mean, really.
All of these deals, the competition has gotten so stiff across the board. And I would love to see that become a little bit more part of the conversation, because we don't need to defend our sport to anyone. We have to act as if, drag racing is the biggest thing happening in motorsports, and the results will follow, right? Like, that needs to be the storyline. That's needs to be what the conversation we're having at the water cooler is, man, can you believe how many people are drag racing right now? Can you believe how many drag racing events are going on? And to the gentleman in the comment asking why tracks are closing all over the place, will be our kind of next conversation is, tracks are not closing all over the place. That's not accurate. Tracks are closing, but the tracks that are struggling, by and large, there's a couple of things that I'd like to point out. One, they're dealing with local politics. They're landlocked. They're dealing with urban sprawl. All sorts of businesses, all sorts of hobbies contend with that. I mean, that's true. Like, when we were at Bradenton, I was driving back to the airport, and I saw an old dog track, like an old Greyhound track or whatever, closed down. You know what? It probably just had the city wrap around it, and next thing you know, there's a Starbucks, and it just didn't make sense anymore.
They got offered enough money to, really,
it's business, and you're always going to deal with business. You're always going to have a track owner, because at the end of the day, all of this is real estate. A drag strip's real estate. So if somebody comes along and says, hey man, I'll give you $50 billion for this place, you're going to sell it. And we can't bag on those people. We can't hate on those people. We can't vilify those people. It is what it is. And that's never going to change.
And maybe that place was mismanaged, where the next place isn't.
100%.
Restaurants go out of business all the time, and it isn't because people stopped eating.
Oh my God, dude, they're going to stop eating. Dude, they closed the Ruby Tuesdays down next to my house, man. Oh my God, the end is near. We're going to have to only eat at home. Right? We're only going to be able to eat at home. No, dude, places come and go. That's going to happen. But like, why isn't there a bunch of outcry right now about the fact that Scott Tidwell, I don't even know this guy that well, he spent like $1 billion renovating Alabama International Raceway down in Steele, Alabama. Where's the outrage and the outcry about that? Guy, look at right Victor. Down the street from my house, Extreme Raceway Park in Ferris, Texas. Clyde Scott and his team, Galen, everybody down there. This is like one of the nicest racetracks in the world. Concrete, I didn't even know they made that much concrete. Concrete everywhere. I mean, think about the tracks that are making investments. Look at our buddy Vic Alvarez down at Bradenton Motorsports Park, man. I mean, we told him we needed more pavement to park pro mods, and guess what homeboy did?
He did it.
Made more pavement, by God. And it's happening all over.
And he makes these decisions, while everything's encroaching on him. He said it to us. He's like, man, this probably isn't the best decision to make, but I'm doing it. Screw it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it is what it is. And so we have to just kind of be willing and able to really take these things for what they really are. Like, it is, in my opinion, a tragedy that Houston Raceway Park is closing down in Baytown, Texas. They held their last event this past weekend. And I do think that's a bummer, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of layers to that onion. Real estate values contribute to that. The NHRA's arrangement with tracks. I mean, things have to evolve, and the things that don't evolve go away. I mean, and that's across the board. You either evolve or die. I mean, think about us, JT. I can speak from experience. If you want to talk about, and this is me airing out like some personal, like, dirty laundry here, but since we kicked the doors open at Drag Illustrated in 2005, I've had people tell me that print is dead.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's not a week when I tell, and this is funny because my wife, God bless her, she's had to kind of change what she tells people that I do, because people ask her, what does Wes do? And when she says owns a magazine, they almost offer condolences. Like, I bet that's pretty rough these days. But the fact is, our circulation's higher than it's ever been. What do they say? One of my favorite phrases: the riches are in the niches, right? I don't know that I want to own Rolling Stone in 2023, too broad, right? I don't know that I want to own Maxim in 2023, too broad. But when you are catering to a niche community and you're fostering growth and you're fostering interaction and you're growing that, our circulation's never been higher than it is in 2023. Printing and mailing a magazine, right?
Yep. Well,
what did we have to do?
Telling us that as well. Like, I always thought that was funny. We're talking to people at PRI or SEMA or wherever, and they're telling us, well, print's dead. Well, like, and we just keep growing, so I've never really understood that. And I've never been able to read a magazine, on an iPad. Like, it just doesn't work.
My issue, I have two things. One, I want to go back to, what did we just say? Evolve or die. Whenever we launched Drag Illustrated in the fall of 2005, we actually I thought this was interesting last night. We put our first issue out in March of 2006. We put on the World Series of Pro Mod in 2023, the first weekend of March. There's some magic there. Anyways, what did we have to do? We had to evolve. When we launched, we were strictly a print magazine. We mailed this thing 12 times a year, and that's all we did. The next thing we did was roll out dragillustrated.com, a regularly updated website, to be a companion to Drag Illustrated magazine. Well, we realized that, oh my goodness, the expectations are extremely high in this day and age. The 24/7 news cycle that you can learn about, that is a new development. Watch Anchorman 2. You used to have the news on an hour a day. Then came a time where the news is big business, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can't let off the gas, right? So we experienced that as well. We launched dragillustrated.com as a daily updated content-driven website. Then we accompanied it with a social media platform. Then we accompanied it with a daily email newsletter. We've had to evolve. Our business has had to evolve. And when I look around the industry, the tracks, in my opinion, that are really successful are the ones that are ever evolving. They're finding new ways to make use of their property.
Look at the Stampede of Speed.
Great example. The Stampede of Speeds at Texas Motorplex. They just tickets just went on sale. If you haven't bought tickets, you need to buy tickets, because I think that's one of the coolest events that happen in our industry.
Pretty awesome.
I cannot wait, to be honest. I actually put on Christy Meyer's Facebook page last night. I can't wait for the Texas Stampede of Speed. It's like one of my favorite weeks of the year. But my point is, they've had to evolve that event. It used to be the NHRA Fall Nationals, a 3-day drag race. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come on out. We're going to kick some tires and light some fires. We're going to have a big old time. Today, that event represents a barbecue contest, a bull buck out, or whatever they call it, a bull buck off, concerts, a lantern release, a car show. They do all sorts of stuff. And that's the way it works, in my opinion, at this point in time. That's what's required. I think of Keith Haney and Todd Martin up at Tulsa Raceway Park. It was a drag strip for a long time. They build a circle track. They have a mud bog. You got to find ways to do it. Bandamere Speedway. They host concerts, festivals. Anything you can do to bring people out to that venue, you have to do. So it just goes back to being okay, like leaning into that need to evolve. You have to be changing. And again, I want to kind of book in this conversation, because we could talk about this for the rest of the show. Drag racing is alive and well. And if you needed proof, open your eyes. Again, don't think for a second, it impacts us all, every one of us. I don't care how you feel about No Prep Kings, Street Outlaws, whatever. There was a group of drag racers that were paid to go on tour in Australia.
Right.
This offseason. Like, take a second and really sit with that. How big of a deal is that? It's enormous. The fact that drag racers, I don't care if they're drag racing on through a whoop section at a motocross track, on no prep, yeah. prep, I don't care. Drag racers were paid to, and their expenses covered, right, to go to another land and drag race. Yeah. And people came out in droves. Our sport's in a very, very good place right now. So I encourage all of you, add that to your repertoire, add that to your messaging, because life is good, brother. If you're in drag racing, life is good.
They had so many updates on their traveling to Australia and back that I started getting served Australian ads, like, you know, like CBS Australia. Really? Yeah, I was like on my feed. You know,
man, I will be the first to admit I was getting a little bit like, all right, guys, I got it. Your flight's delayed. Like, it's okay. But still, what an incredible moment. And we're all contributing to this. Like, we've got to keep the message out there. We have to quit pandering to those handful, because here's what's really going on is people love to fight on the internet. And the only reason you're putting that on your social is to fight with, you're looking for a fight. And that's cool if that's what you want to do, I guess. But I would argue that you're contributing to the problem. Drag racing is doing well. No one that matters is saying otherwise. So quit.
People like that are cancers anyway. You know, in business, I think that as soon as you get someone out of your team that's that negative, I mean, because that negativity will spread like a cancer throughout your whole team, wherever, your whole race team, you know, through the pits, whatever, however you want to look at it. You know, if you got one guy bitching all the time, the next thing you know, you're sitting there and you're bitching too, or you're agreeing with them, and then you got to stop. You're like, what the hell am I doing? You know, like,
well, I don't want, for me personally, I also recognize, like, a lot of decision makers, a lot of people, you know, Facebook is the largest social media platform in the world. There's like 2 billion active users on Facebook. Be weary of who sees this stuff. You know, do you really want some decision maker or a CEO or somebody that operates in a C-suite somewhere and has some influence or has some stroke to be seeing these posts like, oh, they say drag racing is dying. They say drag racing is dying, because they're going to adopt that. They're going to go, well, shit, I've seen like a half dozen people, you know, say that drag racing is dying on my timeline. Like, maybe it is. Like, is that really what's happening? No, hell no, that's not what's happening. Drag racing is thriving.
And I've said it on here before, but, you know, there's a lot of people that can't wait until the waitress doesn't bring them a water, you know, just so they can get on and bitch about it. Man. You know, it's like, you don't know if that waitress, you know, just lost her parent or lost somebody or just had a bad day or didn't get any sleep because her kid was screaming all night long. Like, you really do not know, you know. So, and it's funny that people will go on Facebook or social media, Instagram, whatever, Twitter, that they will put it all out there on the line there, and don't even think about the repercussions that post may do for the person that you're talking about, the restaurant you're talking about, before they even go to like a manager or try to resolve the problem. You know,
just they can't wait
in-house. You know,
they can't wait, man.
Yeah.
And listen, not here to crucify anybody. No. Just here to want to remind folks, right? Like, listen, let's keep the messaging positive if we can. I understand there's always going to be a time and place for a critique. Well, yeah, have a cocktail, man. Take a deep breath. Life's going to be okay.
What was that sign you sent me a while back? Like, the problem with the world is everybody else is a few drinks behind.
Yeah, the problem with the world is everybody else is a few drinks behind us, you know? And I mean, man, lighten up. There's a couple of things I want to touch on. First and foremost, though, let's pay some bills, T.
Okay.
Let me remind all of you that the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by our friends at Redline Synthetic Oils. Redline has a reputation with racers and hardcore enthusiasts for creating products that perform and protect better than any on the market, and they've been doing it since 1979. Whether it's your race car, your motorcycle, or your lawnmower, your tow rig, whatever you've got, when you think about lubricants, you need to think about our friends at Redline. For more information, log on to redlineoil.com. JT, I got to say, it was a big weekend for the sport of drag racing, as we have obviously made quite clear here. But I think the real big story was Camry Caruso earning her first ever NHRA Pro Stock win out at the NHRA Arizona Nationals. Huge moment for that family, that team. Papa Joe, Mark Caruso, Fran Vivenzio at Tequila Commissario, the whole team, Desiree and everybody at Power Built Tools. This was a huge moment that they have been working towards for a long
really
time.
Was. And they had a good year last year too. But when they first started, I speaking of people on the internet, people say they'll never qualify. People were saying that. Now she's won a race.
It's incredible, man. And I'm really happy for that whole team because, starting with Papa Joe, Mark, that's a group of people that they're living out a dream right now. And personally, I love to see people win, especially people around me and people that I'm friends with. Like, I love seeing my friends win. And I'm not talking about on the drag strip. I'm just talking about in life. And it's so cool to see them add a Pro Stock Wally, an NHRA Pro Stock Wally to their trophy case because, man, they have poured their heart and souls. People maybe lose sight of the fact that Mark Caruso, as a man, tabled his own racing desires, his own racing career to sell off all of his pro mod equipment, everything that he had ever compiled to pro mod race, right? Sold all of his pro mod stuff to give his daughter, Camry, an opportunity to chase her dreams as a pro stock racer. And that's just, I think it's a fantastic story. And while the weekend was exciting and there's some drama to talk about, which we want to talk about because it's fun to talk about it, I think, I don't want anything to be taken away from Camry Caruso because first and foremost, we talk about it all the time. It's hard to win, especially if you're playing with somebody who knows what they're doing. It's hard to win 4 games of tic-tac-toe in a row, let alone in NHRA Pro Stock drag racing. It is no secret that this is amongst the most competitive classes in all of drag racing. Everybody has very similar equipment, if not identical equipment. And to go out there and win, to stack 4 W's in a row and leave as the champion is a huge accomplishment. And I think it was like the feel-good story of the weekend across the board was to see Camry. I thought
Mark was going to tackle everybody on the line. It was really awesome to see,
Man, for me personally, like seeing that all unfold was just absolutely fantastic. I think it was for them. Listen, we can't not talk about the way this whole thing unfolded. So let's touch on this momentarily here. Camry came into the weekend, qualified number 8 amidst, I believe, 20 cars out there at the NHRA Arizona Nationals. Great turnout for Pro Stock, which has been the case for the last several years. It's without question the most stable and strong category in NHRA professional drag racing. Takes out Bo Butner in the final round, a classic KB Titan / Elite Motorsports, red team versus blue team, essentially there in the final round, and the starting line's packed full of people. I just love those moments that drag racing gives us. But the action really happened in the second round when Camry Caruso went head-to-head with Christian Quadra out of the Elite Motorsports camp, who is having a career year. He's 2 races into the season and he is proving himself to be a contender. He's a threat on the drag strip, qualified number 1, the first time a Mexican American had qualified number 1 in Pro Stock competition. Side note, shout out to Scott Woody Woodruff and the branding team there at Elite Motorsports, because that Corral Boots Mustang may be the best looking car on the property. I know, JT, you're not a yellow guy necessarily, but that
I am.
Are you?
MU colors.
Fair enough, man. That is a good-looking hot rod, man. But we did have a moment, and I think that this stuff is fun to talk about. JT and I kind of prefaced this when we were talking before the show. Riddle me this, Batman. Why is everybody so spun out about these starting line situations? Because here's the real dirt on that situation. Camry Caruso took too big of a bite and she rolled in and turned on the top bulb, ended up lighting both bulbs pre-stage, stage simultaneously. Christian's not even in yet, right?
Right.
He could have, technically, Christian could have sat there for 15 minutes, right? When 2 bulbs are lit, you've got all the time in the world. The drama starts when 3 bulbs are lit. So when Camry Caruso pre-stage and stages simultaneously, and you've not even turned on the top bulb, in my opinion, it's kind of a coachable moment for the group because Christian's got the bull by the tail right there. Technically, he could have, held the clutch in, took a deep breath, cleaned the thing out a little bit. He has complete control of that situation. And unfortunately, just perhaps not understanding completely some of the nuances of that situation caused him to get timed out, right? He rolled in, lit the top bulb, took too long. I think he was obviously, I don't think anybody's the bad guy here. I really don't. And then that's part of the issue, is that everybody is so quick to like take sides and want to vilify somebody. Camry made it. It was an accident. It was a mistake. And these things happen. And I think what everybody has to realize is the shoe can be on the other foot this weekend in Pomona.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. I mean, this is not easy to do. And that's another thing, is that we act like all this stuff is so easy. And we're all so matter of fact about it. You hold down the clutch, right, in one of those cars. People don't realize how loud an NHRA Pro Stock car is, right? I mean, you've got the headers, the collectors of a Pro Stock engine are hitting the fucking firewall.
Yep.
I would argue it's louder in that car than a screw-blown Pro Mod. Screw-blown Pro Mods have zoomies that are directing that noise away from the car. In a Pro Stock, it's loud in there. It is uncomfortable. It's hot. It's all these things. And you're bound in those moments to screw up every once in a while, right? And I think we're insane. I talked about this last week when we were debating this situation with Manny Bajinga and Chris Thorne that took place at the Gator Nationals. But like, guys, these things happen, and what great drama, because a lot of sports, their drama, like in NBA, in the NFL, it's domestic abuse, it's drug abuse, it's a DWI, it's it's bad drama that makes the news cycle. Am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about what's the NFL drama, well, it's all bad news. It's all bad stuff, drugs, alcohol, home life. Yep. It's all bad stuff. Here in drag racing, our drama is double bulbing somebody getting timed out. What great drama. You couldn't ask for better drama. If you have to pick the type of drama that you're going to have, this is what we want. This is a squeaky clean, dramatic moment at the first two races of the season. This is great news for the sport of drag racing. We had some people getting their feelings at the Gator Nationals, and everybody's up on the tire about a 3-minute staging duel. Then the very next race, we've got this whole snafu in the second round. These are great things. We can't hide from them. We need to talk about them. We need to air it out. We need everybody to own it. And I thought everybody involved, for the most part, has done that. And the reason I bring it up is because I think it's fun.
And lesson learned, too.
Coachable moment on both persons. Because here's the thing. Camry didn't have, obviously Christian got timed out. She had like a 470 light or something. So, it's not like she nailed that. But in fairness, she knew she rolled in too deep. And I think she deserves some credit for keeping her shit together. Because I think there are some other people that would have gone, oh, God, I screwed up. And now what do I do now? Somebody's probably talking to him on the radio. Like, oh, you just don't know what's going on in that moment. Car's loud, foot's on the clutch. You got 200, 400, however many pounds of brake pressure you stage with. There's just a lot of moving parts. And we're simplifying it too much. Complicated moment. Camry's probably thinking like somebody's about to grab the parachute mount and pull me back. Who knows? She doesn't know, but she kept her foot on the clutch, right? She kept her finger on the line lock button, had that thing stuffed in low gear. You got to hold a Liberty in low gear, right? Especially when it's but you got to hold the shifter forward, right? So there's a lot going on. You got your hand on the steering wheel, your finger on the line lock button, right? You got your clutch foot down, right? And you've got this thing. There's a lot happening, and she could have easily gotten distracted, rolled through the beam. There's so many things. And to earn that round win during that calamity is a big deal. And I think there's a coachable moment on both of their behalfs. They're both young in this process. And again, the shoe could be on the other foot this weekend in Pomona. You just don't know these things. You're very still, rarely
at the end of the day, you're a professional racer, and you have to be ready for anything. And 100%. And some of these games, like this wasn't a game, obviously, but some of these games, just be ready for it. It's you're a professional racer. It's stuff's going to happen.
100%.
You have to adapt to it. That's just how it is. And
every race car driver that I know is proud of the fact that they're a race car driver, right?
Right.
Like every one of them that I know, they're cowboys, they're badasses, they're scrappy. You can't pick and choose when you're going to wear that hat, right? You can't be a badass, when you're at the bar and you're a tough guy race car driver, right? Or when you're BSing with your friends, you're a tough guy race car driver. But then when you're actually in the throes of battle and you're a race car driver, have a moment like that screw you up. You know what I mean? And so again, it's a coachable moment for everybody involved. And I'm
superstitious, so I would double bulb everybody from here on out, like, because you got the win, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like in the second round, Camry needs to roll in and light both bulbs. Just need to do the same thing every single time. And again, I know that there's varying opinions, and everybody's entitled to their opinion, no doubt about it. But what I would like to kind of leave with this particular conversation with is just that these things are okay, guys. We have to allow a human sport to be human. This is part of the game. And these are the things that keep people talking. I've had more people mention to me in passing, send a message on our social channels, send an email about the staging duel at the Gator Nationals between Manny Bajinga and Chris Thorne, and this situation in the second round of the NHRA Arizona Nationals between Camry Caruso and Christian Quadra. People are talking about it, and that's a victory, right? That's a big win for the sport of drag racing, and I just wish everybody would be a little more okay with it. I said this last week, I'm going to repeat it before we move on. Any steps that our sport takes towards automation, it's a mistake. We have to leave these things in the hands of the men and women behind the wheel. The moment that we don't, we're racing remote control cars. And we have to keep the men and women behind the wheel as central characters, directly connected to the outcome. Because otherwise, what we're going to end up with is Richard Freeman and Greg Anderson or whomever standing behind a red car and a blue car with one of them trigger, with the little wheel, like vroom, vroom,
RC car, basically.
Vroom. Yeah. It's like making sure they're going to hold that little tire straight, like vroom, vroom, vroom. I mean, nobody wants to see that. It's the worst thing that could possibly happen in the history of the world would be for us to turn these things into RC cars. So we have to be weary. What we're preaching, what we're asking for is the end. We're asking for this to become RC cars, radio controlled drag racing, which is not going to sell out Wild Horse Pass. So anyways,
that, we came off of probably three big weekends now. Yeah. 3 big weekends in a row. And we got another big weekend here back to back for the NHRA. You have PDRA starting. What are you looking forward to this weekend the most?
Man, I got to be honest. I'm looking forward to the PDRA season opener at Galat. It's no secret that I'm a door slammer guy, and I just love, I love fast door slammer racing. So I'm excited for the PDRA season to kick off. It just get things going, get all of our guys back out at the racetrack. The PDRA was extremely well represented at the Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod. And I'm just excited to see some of our guys, that came out and supported us down at Bradenton, kind of see what they're going to do for the rest of the season. Spencer Hyde,
I know we talked about it
all
before,
eyes on Spencer Hyde this weekend.
But Judy and them flying those flags in the staging lanes behind them, that was cool. Or in the water.
Oh, dude,
the
box, PDRA showed up
badass.
And showed out, in my opinion, at the World Series of Pro Mod, and I'm excited to see how that kind of carries over to this first race of the year. I mean, you think Jay Cox, I think, had an incredible showing at the World Series. I can't wait to see what he does in Pro Nitrous this year. Same can be said for Jim Halsey, obviously. I mean, there's a slew of guys that I'm really excited to see dive into their regularly scheduled programming, if you will. Melanie Salemi, one run behind at the World Series of Pro Mod, in my opinion.
And everybody ran pretty well. For the most part.
Everybody
wow,
ran
so
really well.
Yeah.
And so the PDRA season opener is going to be fantastic. I am paying attention to the NHRA, what is it? The In-N-Out Burger or something, NHRA Nationals coming up this weekend in Pomona. It is very uncomfortable for me, or weird, to see Pomona happen at the end of March or 1st of April. I'm just so used to that event happening in February and then again in November. So to see it be the third stop on the tour, I'm very excited to see how that all unfolds, to be honest. I'm anxious to see the crowd. The crowd this weekend, I think, is probably the only one that the NHRA group is going, all right, we don't know. You just don't know how it's going to unfold there in Southern California. So I'm anxious to see how things go. I'm confident they'll have a good crowd. I think these first 2 races of the year being such spectacles, you create a certain amount of FOMO when you start talking about sellouts. Gainesville sells out, Phoenix sells out. I think there are some racing fans that have heard that messaging. Like, oh my God, they're selling out these first 2 races of the year. We got all this badass racing. We have full fields. I'm hoping that the NHRA is treated to a massive crowd at Pomona this weekend. But there's a ton of racing going on. I keep seeing comments. Michael Hollis, Cornelius, the gang at Texas Radio Roundup going on this weekend at the Texas Motorplex. That's where I'll be. I'm planning on coming and hanging out at least for a little while at the Motorplex. But yeah, man, there's a lot of cool stuff happening. And it's kind of crazy that this is the beginning of the season, right? I mean, I don't know. It feels like do you feel that like it feels like we're further along in
Absolutely.
the year than we actually are?
And I think that happens. I mean, every year doesn't seem like that the off season gets just shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yeah, I mean, and I do have there's some storylines that I think started to unfold at the NHRA Arizona Nationals that we'll see continue. One, cause for concern, in my opinion, was there were only 16 Top Fuel cars and 16 funny cars in Pomona, or excuse me, at the NHRA Arizona Nationals in Phoenix. I'm anxious to see what kind of car count they have in the nitro ranks this weekend in Pomona. You're as far west as they go. Right. So that's a huge challenge for a lot of teams, especially the ones based out of, Brownsburg, Indiana, or the East Coast. This is a long haul. So I'm anxious to see what kind of turnout they get in terms of Top Fuel and funny car. But the cars they do have are as good as we've ever seen. I think we're seeing, Sean Langdon in the final Top Fuel final against Justin Ashley. For me, that was well received because we've seen the Coletta camp not really have the success that I think they were planning on by bringing Alan Johnson and Brian Houston into the fold as tuners and crew chiefs. But now we're starting to see those cars look how we expected them to look last year. Steve Torrance clearly right back in the mix. Mike Salinas looking like a real contender that I think will be in the mix all year long. Leah Pruitt had a fairly good weekend out at the Arizona Nationals. So NHRA, if we kind of put it in a box, they've got a solid program right now. It's going to be an exciting 2023. I really thought 22 would be hard for them to top. Like just great competition.
Because it was good.
You were really interested. First time I've ever heard you talk about NHRA.
I know, right?
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens as the season wears on. But so far, so good. By all accounts, so far, so good. I think this Mission Foods, Too Fast, Too Tasty shootout where they bring back the semifinalists from the race before and run them off during qualifying. I think it's great. There's a lot of reasons for that. Just more stories to tell, more winner circle photos. I thought it was cool to see Troy Coughlin win that deal this past weekend and, go right back into another winner circle photo. And it's great to see brands wrap their arms around a sport and really get aggressive like that. But yeah, I think that, for the most part, like the Drag Illustrated community, we have a strong following in the Door Slammer ranks. We're going to have all eyes are on Galat Motorsports Park this weekend, man. There is a lot of things that we're going to see unfold. Again, can Spencer Hyde continue what he started at the World Series of Pro Mod? Will he be able to follow that epic win up, a career-defining win with a strong showing in Pro Boost this weekend? Kurt Stedding, finalist at the World Series of Pro Mod. I mentioned this last night during PDRA Live right here on the Drag Illustrated social channels. Kurt Stedding really impressed me at the World Series. I think his reaction times, the performance of that car, the consistency of that car, and the consistency of that team really, really, really was impressive to me. So I'm anxious to see how he fares. Again, Pro Nitrous is going to be off the hook. Extreme Pro Stock, what an incredible compliment to our Pro Mod show they were at Bradenton. Can't wait to see what kind of car count they get this weekend, what kind of support they get. Will John Montecalvo, be able to keep this thing going? Maybe stack a couple of them up. We've also got Daryl Stewart behind the wheel of the Chassis Engineering Camaro, making the move, as we announced on dragillustrated.com last week, from Pro 632 to Extreme Pro Stock. I think that's fantastic news. Hate to see Pro 632 lose a top-tier car, a championship contending car, but this is the way it's supposed to work, right? This is the way the world's supposed to work. You're supposed to move up the ranks. And we got Daryl Stewart and Clayton Murphy throwing their hat into the ring collectively there with Extreme Pro Stock. So it's going to be really exciting, man. What about you? I mean,
I'm just wondering if they're going to get all the champagne cleaned off of Spencer's car. That's a bad
Did you
decision.
notice that they've got like the entire drivetrain out of that thing? Probably because they had to clean it from top to bottom, left to right.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad.
Well, I don't. Tell me the champagne story real quick.
They had the champagne, and then they're like, "Oh, we want to spray it." I'm like, "Yeah, spray it." I think Courtney had told them no. And I was like, "Yeah, spray it. It'll look cool." I really wasn't thinking. Yeah, and then Courtney looked at him, and then it ratted me out. JT said we could.
It's all good, dude. No, it's gonna be a big weekend for drag racing again, and just kind of backs up our point earlier in the show that this is a great time for our sport. There's a lot of stuff going on. I saw a lot of people talking a moment ago about Lyle Barnett and Stevie Fast Jackson, I guess also in Courtney Ender's Shake and Bake show on YouTube. Yep. This deal is fantastic. I'm really excited to see them demonstrate the consistency, right, that we talked about. Like, hey, man, can they do this week after week after week? So far, so good. Fantastic. Great content. And we've been preaching this for what? A decade, T? Right here on this show. We need more racers staring into cameras. We need more and more and more of this. And this is fantastic. I mean, these are two of the most visible, followed guys in drag racing that are engaging their fans in the drag racing community weekly. There's no telling how big that deal could become for them. And I hope they keep pouring the coals to it. I genuinely do.
It's great. And I think in this day and age, you have to do that. It's just a must. I mean, look how much of getting in front of a camera has helped F1. Those guys. Now that you have that full swing show on golf, I mean, these shows like this and getting in front of a camera and just letting the fans see like the more personal side of you, and they relate to you more. It's not just going out on the track and running the car and going back and hiding out in the motorhome. Now that, and then you're putting stuff out there that people can. I mean, you're going to get some rivalry started. You're going to get some shit talking, and then all that stuff's good for the sport.
And it doesn't happen without those people being in front of a camera, right? Like those moments are necessary. And a lot of times our sport has been reliant. Let's actually take a big step back to the Camry Caruso Christian Quadra drama there in the second round at the Arizona Nationals. There are a lot of people that probably don't even know what Fernando Quadra looks like, nor have they ever heard his voice, the cadence of his voice. Like those moments. I mean, Dave, I think about it. Will Dave Connolly, crew chief for Camry Caruso, be on camera again this year? You don't know, right? I mean, that was the first time we'd seen him on camera so far this year, and it was because there was drama, right? So we can't, as competitors, as ambassadors for the sport of drag racing, or however you wherever you fit in, I don't want people reliant on drama to get in front of a camera. And that's what we've seen Stevie Fast and Lyle Barnett do here, is they're not waiting on the Fox cameras. They're not waiting on us. They're not waiting on Competition Plus. They're not waiting on NHRA. They've taken matters into their own hands, and they are doing what needs to be done to put themselves in front of a worldwide audience on a weekly basis. It's very powerful.
You've got a free platform to use. Just use it.
With the tools that are available to racers today, everybody should be able to sell merch. Everybody should be able to develop a fan following. There's a book that our producer here, Blake Fontenelle, I bet has read, and it's called 1,000 True Fans.
I have not.
And basically, he's given me the thumbs up. And there is a book, and basically what it's about, what it explains is that if you have 1,000 true fans, you can earn a living off those 1,000 fans. If you have 1,000 true fans that will buy every shirt you put out, buy every DVD you put out, buy every album you release, you can earn a living. And there are plenty of drag racers, in my opinion, that have 1,000 true fans, but they're not serving those fans adequately. They're not feeding those fans adequately. And that's what I believe we're seeing Stevie Fast Jackson and Lyle Barnett do with the Shake and Bake show, is they're watering the soil, right? They've planted these seeds at various tracks all over the country, or world for that matter, if you're Stevie Fast Jackson, right? Who's raced successfully in Bahrain and Doha, Qatar, and the list goes on. They're watering those seeds they've planted, and they will undoubtedly reap the rewards and the benefit of having done that. So again, you think about, 16 cars in Top Fuel, that means there's 16 drivers in Top Fuel. 16 cars in Funny Car, that means there's 16 Funny Car drivers. 20 in Pro Stock. None of those people have podcasts, None of those people regularly engage their fans, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So there's a lesson to be learned from Stevie and Lyle on the Shake and Bake Show, right? Is that there's StreamYard.com, which is a live streaming platform, is free.
Right.
YouTube is free. Right? I mean, Facebook is
Instagram,
free.
Yes.
You can
TikTok,
use any of these platforms to introduce yourself and develop a relationship with your fan base. And I wish we saw more racers doing it. One of my favorite things that has ever happened in drag racing as far as content goes was the Nomex effect. I see someone talking about it in the comments. J.R. Todd and Sean Langdon, a weekly podcast, and they let it all hang out. Like, they talked about stuff that no one else was really qualified to talk about, and they talked about behind the scenes happenings and drama amongst drivers. That's great stuff. And you're right. I mean, look no further than Formula One. Now, granted, that's content being done at the highest level, right? The highest level but you don't that's not necessary. Production value really doesn't matter, especially on social media. We've found the rougher around the edges content is, the better it performs.
That's the only reason I'm still here. Shit, let's not lie. It's true, man.
Oh, I think that was super funny.
But there's all kinds of tools to use too. I mean, there's tons of apps out there that basically edit a video for you now. I mean,
my daughter Sophia is 8 years old. Yeah, and she uses this app called CapCut. Have you heard of it?
I have not.
On her iPad, and she literally shows me a video she made that's pretty good, like every day. She's 8. She's in 2nd grade. Yeah. And so my point is, dude, you've got the tools available to you. Like, you being all drag racers out there, don't be afraid to turn that camera around and point it at yourself. It's easy to take a picture of your car, right? It's easier to take a picture of your trailer, pulling out of the driveway of your shop. Those are great, man. But we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear what your voice sounds like. We want to hear what's going on. There's a line from Gary Vaynerchuk that I always found insightful. And he said, don't create, document. Don't feel like you've got to do a podcast for 2 hours like we do, or get on a high horse like we do and rant and rave or whatever. Just tell us what's going on. Document your life. Show us, a little bit of what you're experiencing or what your race team is dealing with right now. Just document what you're doing.
You could use stories, so you don't have to. I mean, you really don't have to put captions or anything. Just show us what's up.
Show us what's up, man. And I mean, it really, a challenge has been issued here. We've got a couple of pro mod heavy hitters that have created a hot podcast that's making waves in the sport of drag racing. So the challenge goes out. Who's it going to be in Pro Stock that does the same? Who's it going to be in Top Fuel that does the same? Who's it going to be in Funny Car that does the same? And I'll tell you this, mark my words, whomever it is will get a sponsor, will benefit from it, will sell more merch. So I'm dying to see who it's going to be.
Because Leah's done it well in the past. Alex Laughlin's done it well and still continues to do it well. And there's a reason, I mean, Alex, he's called and asked me for numbers from the show and numbers from, how many times he was mentioned in the magazine last year and, which was searchable. I'd never done that before. And we put it in a letter for him that he could present to his sponsors.
It's meaningful. It is 100% meaningful. Speaking of how meaningful it is, hey, gang, remember that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seat belts to fire suits and blankets, all 100% made in America. Log on to StroudSafety.com and make sure you tell those guys that we sent you. T, I think we were kind of headed down a pathway of my self-improvement and my personal development stuff that you typically get mad at me about. So I just want to apologize because I was getting on a little bit of
I know.
I'm referencing books. I'm referencing motivational speakers.
The other day, I forget what it was called. A buddy of mine wrote a book. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Can you believe that?
What's it about? Like drinking?
No. I was looking.
Is it about like beer consumption?
No.
No. Are you trying to come up with a name, or should I carry on?
It's more of a self-help type book.
Well, let's see it. Where's it at?
Well, I'm looking for it right now.
Oh, you know what? Sam Murray in the comments here, and let's do a little Q&A section. So Full disclosure, Justin Ashley is traveling to Pomona, shocker, and his flight was delayed, and he's going to be late or possibly not make it. So anyways,
it's called nobility, rejecting mediocrity, pursuing perfection, and surpassing
mediocrity.
What'd I say?
I got you, bro.
Yeah. And surpassing your previous self. It sounds right up your alley.
It
really does.
Real quick, you need to read it.
I don't know.
Based on that title, you need to read it. Yeah, you need to read it. And I do want to mention, we got a comment here talking about Clay Millican. We kind of skipped over him.
Yeah, Clay.
Millican has done a fantastic job. But again, I want to hear from Clay more frequently. His podcast that he was doing, that I believe he only does during the off season, it was on Tuesdays, and he would interview various racers, various competitors of his, various people from the media. Fantastic. And to have the tables kind of turned and having a championship caliber top fuel driver be the one that's asking the questions and driving the conversation, I always got a real big kick out of it, because it's like watching ESPN and having one of these shows hosted by Patrick Mahomes as compared to Max Kellerman. I mean, it really changes the dynamic. So love to see more of that stuff. If you had to pick someone,
they've always been on here too.
He's awesome on here. If you had to pick someone to host a podcast in drag racing right now, name your top 3.
Oh shit! I guess the people are doing it. No, I don't know. I really don't know. I guess yeah, Lyle. He's been on here.
He's already doing one.
I know. Besides them,
yeah.
Oh shit! You put me on the spot now.
All right, so I'll do a couple.
Okay.
You knew that I was only saying this because I was already ready to do it.
Yeah, you already wrote it down.
No, I didn't write it down. So in Top Fuel,
how you're reading
Clay
it right
Millican
now
is obviously already doing an awesome job. But there are some, I think Antron Brown is one of the most charismatic people that exist in the sport of drag racing. And a Steve Torrance, Antron Brown podcast would be, somebody just stole my idea, Drag Racing Central. Steve Torrance and Antron Brown would be fire, man. Antron's super well spoken, and people sleep on Steve Torrance. Steve's got big opinions. He's a 4-time champion. He is a legend. So I think the two of them, a Top Fuel Champions type of podcast, and they also are guys that are sponsored by Toyota. They have big brands that they're involved with. I think it would be cool to see those guys, more frequently. We've seen a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff. Steve Torrance has really stepped up his social media game. I'm watching a lot of the stories that they post. Really well done. Same goes for Antron Brown, the behind the scenes stuff, the shop tours and whatnot. But I would challenge them to not worry about the production quality. Buy a MacBook that rides in the trailer. You know what I'm saying? And with a newer MacBook that's got a webcam, they all do, and just do a rough around the edges Q&A type of thing. I don't know that you would even have to go into any of the shows with a format. Like, we typically roll into an episode with like points we want to make, clippable, things that we want to get, points we want to get across, things we want to discuss. But I think somebody like Antron Brown, dude, you could fire up the StreamYard or fire up a Facebook Live and just answer questions for a half hour. I would challenge all these guys. Who's going to do my next? Who's going to give us an Ask Me Anything? That's what I want. I want to see a Steve Torrance Ask Me Anything, an Antron Brown Ask Me Anything, a Ron Capps Ask Me Anything. I mean, once a week, right? I mean, in between races, take a Tuesday, Wednesdays. The reason we do Wednesdays is because it's not a travel day. You never know when you're going to get home. Monday, you've got to leave again Friday. Wednesday's a pretty sacred day for those of us that are in the drag racing business. So, hey man, we're cool. The more the merrier. Do a Monday morning. Don't come right on top of us or we'll come for you. Fact.
Yeah.
But, go right around us. You know what I mean? Or record it. One of the greatest podcasts that I've ever listened to is Road Trippin', which is an NBA podcast. And that is Richard Jefferson. They do that in their hotel rooms. You know what I mean? Like, they literally fire up a laptop and they do a Q&A and BS session in their hotel rooms when they're on the road going to the next NBA game. So anyways, man.
Was that your 3? Yep.
So Ron Capps is another one that I think he's got stories for days. He's been around every legend. He's driven for multiple legends. Like, he's a 2-time world champion. I would love to see. And here's what I would challenge these guys to do. Don't set yourself up for failure and say you're going to do it every week. Say you're going to do it every month, right? Say you're going to do it 4 times a year. Do a season, right? Do like 6 episodes until next year. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that, like, say, hey, the first season of the Steve Torrance, Antron Brown show is going to be 8 episodes, and we're going to do 8 episodes, and then we're going to take it off for the rest of the year, and we'll come back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those would be great. I'm trying to think of who else. Clay Millican, again, he is already doing it, but kind of a different thing. I would love to see Clay Millican.
You told me I couldn't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, funny car, I have to go, Ron Capps, obviously, and probably J.R. Todd. J.R. Todd, I really think, is another guy that's an unsung hero. He's got a big personality. He's got a lot to say.
Does it have to be just a driver?
Okay. No, it doesn't have to be just a driver. What do you got for me?
I'd like the Richard and Royce show.
Oh, dear God. Richard Freeman?
Yeah. Richard and Royce. And then, Chase coming in, assistant every now and then. Yeah, I'd like that. I'd just like to see him just cuss everybody out. Bo Butner would be good. He is so
Bo's
funny,
great. Bo is
funny.
Fantastic. Chad Klein is referencing the Chief and Sean show. You remember that?
Oh, yeah, that was good, yeah.
Hell, it was so good that I think Pilgrim or like Discovery asked them to stop doing it. Like,
maybe.
It was
good.
So good.
Yep. And then Brent Sansucci. I think he'd be great at it. Like, seriously.
Brent actually,
he's got a great personality and hilarious.
And a lot of experience,
he'll say whatever
a lot of
is on his
insight.
mind.
Yeah, no, 100%. In pro stock, that's a little bit of a tough one because I don't see Erica wanting to do. I don't think that what I could see Erica doing very well is Erica is great. I think Erica wants to be part of a conversation. So I think what I would love to see Erica do, because I'm going to tell you this, I've got some secret squirrel stuff. Erica moves a lot of merch. She's legit famous. Like she is a real famous person. Like she is a celebrity, especially in drag racing. And I think fans would love to hear from her more frequently. I think about her winner's circle talks are like when she gets asked a question by I'm drawing a blank on her name, Amanda Busick, or she kills it always. When she comes on this show, kills it always. Yeah. And I think seeing and hearing from her a little more frequently, Elite Motorsports is in a really good position where they could do like Elite Weekly or whatever.
What was that? Was that embedded?
Elite All Access.
Elite All Access. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a show that we produced.
Yeah. It popped up on my memories the other day of him driving you by Joe Exotic's place,
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And he's trying to explain it to you, but he couldn't get it. And then Chase is in the back seat and he's like filling in the blanks, Yeah. And he married his partner over there, actually 2 partners, and these real tigers, and
that's the thing is, you don't gotta come on there.
He's like, he's ran for president, he's ran for governor, and then at the end of it, he's like, God damn, he's dumb. And I was just like, but that would be that whole show. It would be like those 2 sitting there going,
100%.
God damn, you're stupid.
Well, and that's the point I'm trying to make is that it doesn't have to be a tech talk. You don't have to talk about base pressure or clutch. You don't got to talk about clutch setup. You don't got to talk about 4-link bars. You can literally just get on there and tell stories and ask questions. And in this day and age, the format is very friendly because, obviously you're going to have jerks that say mean stuff and whatever. You have to table that stuff. My point is the comments will drive the conversation. Fire that thing up and just start answering whatever questions are asked, or in which this is like a little bit of a insider info. You could literally do one of these deals quite frequently, just with questions that you want to be asked, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Every one of us have some things that we love to talk about, right? So it's like, come up. What question do you wish Joe Costello or Brian Loans or somebody?
Really,
and then you just lie. Yeah, and you say like, oh man, this is a question I've been getting a lot from my thousands of social followers. Maybe nobody asked you, but nobody's the wiser, right? So anyways, I just think that's the Lyle and Stevie thing. kind of sets us up for that. So real quick, before we welcome on the man of the hour, because it would appear that the flight has landed.
The eagle has landed.
The eagle has landed in Pomona, California. And the NHRA Arizona Nationals top fuel winner is in the green room right now. But real quick, let's pay some bills. The Wes Buck Show is brought to you by FlowRacing.com. If you're a drag racer or a hardcore drag racing fan, you got to get on board with Flow Racing. The world leader in sports live streaming, Flow Racing provides unlimited access to drag racing's biggest events like the World Series of Pro Mod, Donald Long's Lights Out, No Mercy, and Sweet 16, every stop on the PDRA and NMCA tours, World Cup finals, streetcar super nationals, and much, much more. Personally, Flow Racing is a fixture in my life. This is no lie. It's installed on every device that I own. I'm able to follow along with multiple racing events from the comfort of my own home or while I'm on the road. The platform provided by Flow Racing is changing the sport for the better, and there is no limit to the good these folks can do. So log on to flowracing.com today and join the movement. Ladies and gentlemen, fresh off an incredible performance at what we hope is not the last hurrah at Wild Horse Motorsports Park in Phoenix, Arizona. Let's give it up for the one, the only Justin Ashley. What's up, big dog?
What's up, guys? I made it. I made it in Pomona somehow. A little bit of a delay. You made it,
man. Is it weird? Here. Is it as weird for you as it is for us to be going to Pomona as the third stop on the tour?
It's very bizarre. It's very, very odd. Something about it just doesn't feel right. We're making it work, but it's a little weird going from Gainesville to Phoenix to Pomona. Usually we fly in here, test in Arizona first, and it's just the way we kick off the season. So definitely an adjustment, but we're getting used to it.
As a team owner, was it impactful for you to see the NHRA make a move, as odd as it may be? And it is obviously a very weird thing that we will eventually settle into, but what a racer-centric decision for the NHRA to make. And I think that's something that all of us involved in the sport have been yearning for. Like, to see the NHRA do something that is in the best interest of their racers. Keep you guys out west when you're supposed to be out west, right? Like, hey, let's bunch all these West Coast races together instead of making our team zigzag across the country. Do you agree? I mean, was it a meaningful thing for you?
I do. I completely agree. It was very meaningful. You know, it's a small change that makes a big difference. Obviously, logistically for the teams, it keeps the expenses and the costs down. It's just a little adjustment that NHRA made that can really go a long way. It's going a long way for our team. I know it's going a long way for a lot of teams out there. So we really appreciate NHRA making that change. I know that obviously we like to start off at the Winter Nationals every year in Pomona because of its history and the history that is behind racing at that racetrack, the opening race of the year every year. But this just makes more sense financially. And I definitely think it was the right decision by NHRA. And I think all the teams feel the same way.
How are you so good at leaving the starting line? What's the secret? Like, seriously, like I was kind of just getting you comfortable was the plan. Like, I'm gonna get him talking, and then I'm gonna pull out the secret sauce. Dude, you were
perfect, man.
You were 051, right? You were 039, 035, and 052 in the final. When Antron Brown said last year at the Texas Motorplex that you're the best out here right now, to be honest, I'm like, oh man, you guys must be pretty good buddies because that's bullshit, right? But I think you are. Like, I think he is the best out here right now. So what's the secret sauce? Like, are you drinking a certain type of tea on Sundays, or come on, help a brother out?
It's a very specific type of boxers that I wear every Sunday before race day really is the key. But we'll talk about that off air. No, I mean, First of all, I appreciate you coming directly out with the question. That was a good question. No dancing around, right to it. So I appreciate that. But honestly, I wish that there was a secret. If there was a secret, I promise I would not be hiding it. I'd be telling you what it is right now. I think it's just a matter of, obviously it's a combination of things, right? First and foremost, you have to have a good car that reacts well off the starting line. So that's the first thing. So it really is a team effort. But secondly, I think just trying to do the same thing every time, not overthinking it, but going in with the same approach, staging the car the same way every single time and not getting caught up in everything that goes on around you. I am also very analytical in terms of not only where I stage, but where my foot is, my knee bend that I have, where my foot is positioned actually on the throttle, how hard I actually hit the throttle when I decide it's time to go. So I think all those things combined add up. Usually most of the time, Sometimes I'm up there, I may have made plenty of mistakes, but most of the time it's worked out well so far.
The consistency, I really think, tells the tale. I mean, Justin, you're relatively young in this journey that you're on right now, and to be contending for a world championship, to be established as perhaps the best in the business when it comes to the starting line and driving one of these cars, the quickest and fastest cars on the planet Earth, to be thrown into that conversation as one of the best there is, it says a lot about that analytical nature of yours and clearly being committed to the process. I'm curious, just a couple of things. You hear people talk a lot about being consistent staging, but we've never really talked about the burnout process in a Top Fuel or funny car. And you'll have to forgive my ignorance. I've not really been around nitro racing a lot. Like, my story's different than yours. Like, I grew up around pro stock cars and door cars, and there's a lot of the nuances of that stuff, like not dragging the clutch pedal whenever you're backing up from a burnout, not resting your foot on all these things. What is that process like for a burnout? Is that factored in? Oh shit, we lost him. This was going to be great. Oh, he's back. Is the burnout process factored in to your consistency? Do you try to do the same burnout? Do you get any instruction from your crew chief on burnout based on track conditions? Because nobody ever really talks about fuel car burnouts anymore. So can you give us a little bit of insight on that?
Yeah, that's a great point. Just like door cars, it is really important to burn out. The whole process is really important from the time they start the car to the time you back up and actually stage and leave. So, it's a lot of similarities in terms of not riding the clutch, right? You don't want to build too much heat in there, and making sure that, you're going to the same distance and backing up the same way every time, because when these crew chiefs start the car, they actually have their watch and they have everything timed. So we want to be, from the time we start the car, the time Mike Green tells me it's time to stage, I believe around 1:30 to 1:35 seconds every time. So it shows you how critical each element really is to it. So just a matter of treating the clutch obviously the right way. Everything's got to be smooth. Everything's got to be delicate, which Antron Brown actually taught me about doing from the time I started driving at a young age. So all that stuff matters. Just doing the same thing every time, from staging to burnout to keeping the car in the groove.
Do you stomp on the loud pedal, as Clay Millican would say? When I wrote about this for a column in the magazine soon, but last night I was writing. I was, by the grace of God and Scott Palmer, as I like to say, I was given the opportunity last fall to warm up and whack the throttle of a Top Fuel dragster. And his instruction was me to whack it, like, wow, stomp on it. And I did. And I almost thought I was going to break the pedal. I stomped on it. Is that what you do behind the wheel? And forgive me if I'm asking for trade secrets, but are you violent in the car? Or, I mean, how does that process look? What does it look like?
Yeah, that's no trade secret. Yeah, it's pretty violent. And you got to think about it. First and foremost, you want to aim to stomp on that loud pedal, right? Like Clay says, because when you aim to do that, your foot's going to react quicker. So that's always the goal, is to really stomp on that loud pedal. But you have 5.5 Gs that are pulling you back in the seat. If you want to make sure that your foot stays down all the way, you better stomp on that loud pedal and make sure that you hold it down there, because your whole body is going to be pushed back. So yes, when you go to stage, when you go to leave the line, when you go down the track, you definitely want to stomp on that loud pedal and hit it violently and hit it aggressively.
It's a super fun conversation to have, because we're lucky we have a nuanced audience. Like, the people that watch this show aren't just drag racing fans. They're not casual fans. They're hardcores. So it's kind of cool to be able to pull the curtain back a little bit. So take me through this past weekend. We just talked about your reaction time, and the storyline of the last 15 months has been Top Fuel's perhaps never been more competitive as it is right now. Where we may lack in quantity, we more than make up in quality. I was looking at the numbers earlier, and it's like there was 12 cars literally that could have won the race this past weekend that I think you could have said have a shot. That's a newfound happening in our sport. This, like I said, the last 15 months, nitro racing is at an all-time high, in my opinion, in terms of competition. So getting a win under your belt, the second race of the season, we saw you kind of have a championship perhaps snatched away from you last year. So, I mean, what's your emotions like? I mean, is it like, hey, obviously you're going to celebrate any win, right? You should celebrate them all. That would be my advice to you. Please do. But I'm just curious, as someone who has championship aspirations, who has been there at the end in the thick of it, I mean, what's it like to get a win under your belt early in the season? You have to kind of temper yourself and know that there's a lot of fighting left to be done.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's about finding the right balance, and I think experience helps with that. You mentioned enjoying the wins, and I think that's super important. That's something that I'm a strong believer in. That's something that our entire team strongly believes in. When you win these races, they are so difficult to win. You really have to take a deep breath and enjoy it, and not just immediately go on to the next one. So that's something we did Sunday and Monday. Obviously went right back to work, but really enjoyed the moment and took it in. We want to do everything we can to carry that momentum now to Pomona and the rest of the year. But also the focus has to shift at some point. It has to shift to Phoenix. Last year, the competition was insane. I thought, okay, nitro categories, top fuel, it cannot get any better than it is. Turns out this year is even that much better. It's only going to continue to get better. Like you said, at least 12 cars at every event are going to have a chance to win. You almost have to have 4 perfect rounds on Sunday. Just give yourselves an opportunity, to just give yourselves a chance to win. So, we did a great job of it in Phoenix, found that consistency on race day. We have a resilient group with Mike Green, Tommy Delago, and the entire Phillips Connect team. And, when it was time to step up, the guys stepped up and they did a great job. So with that being said, we enjoyed it, but now our focus is all moving forward into having a good weekend in Pomona.
When you look around, and I stand by what I said, I think you may well be the best lever in the class right now. But in fairness, there was only one. There was a couple like snafus, like leave before the tree was activated. I mean, those things are going to happen. We saw it in Pro Stock, whatever. But in fairness, there was only one 100 light in the first round of eliminations. Most of these, everybody's better. Everybody's game has been elevated. Do you sense that amongst the drivers? Is there an increased level of competition or even like the atmosphere? Because drag racing is a big family, and while dysfunctional for sure, a lot of us are very friendly with one another. I mean, you're talking about Antron Brown. I know you guys are close, and there's a lot of great friendships, but it does seem like the onus really is on the drivers, like perhaps more so than we've seen in a long time. I remember, and again, I don't mean to discredit anyone ever, but at the height of Tony Schumacher's success, I mean, he had Alan Johnson. They had the field covered. You know what I mean? Like he could almost wait till he saw green and drive around people. And again, that wasn't the case. And I've had Alan Johnson personally tell me that Tony was perhaps the best driver he'd ever worked with, as far as somebody who was always there, consistent. But I'm just curious, what's the mood like in the pits? I know we're only a couple of races into the year, but I mean, it seems pretty salty right now. We've got all these call out deals and whatnot. Like by God, we're trying to get you guys to not like each other.
Well, yeah, Tony, I've heard Mike Green, our crew chief, was Tony's crew chief for a while. So, I'm a little bit familiar with the way he used to drive, and could talk about consistent. We spoke about doing the same thing every time. That dude was a machine. Did the same thing every single time. But yeah, I mean, look, iron sharpens iron. That's what it comes down to. Everyone is good and good. Everyone's improving because we have to. We're all going to make mistakes. I've made, just ask the crew chiefs, countless mistakes already. Only 2 races in. But thankfully, we've come together as a team, and the tide is rising, man. Everybody has to rise with it. We all know that, like you said, that separation that might have used to been there in the early 2000s, it's not there anymore. It almost looks like Pro Stock when guys are running between 370 and 373 all day. Keeping the car in the groove, leaving the starting line becomes that much more important. So, the driver is just part of it. Obviously an important part of it, especially now with the importance of the reaction times, but it takes a team effort, man. It takes the right crew chiefs, it takes the right team. So, things are getting spicy out there, but that's how we like it.
100%. So you made a great point, or you said something that hit me. A high tide lifts all boats, right? And how is the high tide that kind of exists in drag racing? For the first almost hour of the show today, JT and I ranted and raved about, these posts that people like to make. It would seem on social about like, well, they said drag racing is dying. No, it's not. Quit saying that shit. No one's saying that. Like, open your eyes, look around, get outside. There's no, drag racing is killing it. I mean, Street Outlaws are racing in Australia, sellout crowds, back-to-back events, back-to-back days in Phoenix. People, I mean, you can hardly move in Gainesville. You can hardly move in Phoenix. I'm curious, how's that high tide affecting your business, Justin?
Well, I mean, look, you said it. I don't understand where these thoughts are coming from, where drag racing is dead or it's not moving in the right direction. Gainesville, if I didn't cut the line, forgive me for that, I would have been online for 2 hours to get into that race. If I didn't cut the line,
it was almost scary.
Wes, I had to give away a free T-shirt to cut in front of somebody to get into Phoenix, so I was on time for race day on Sunday. The line was back. Oh, and they held me to it. They came by to my pit to get a T-shirt. But
Not surprised.
It was unbelievable. I mean, it's great for business. It really is. It's great for business. I think something that's really important, obviously, we know is the television, and that Fox racing, especially on National Fox, is a big help. It's great for our business, and the attendance is great for our business, and it's attracting a lot of new partners. It's great for Phillips Connect. It's great for National Debt Relief. It's great for Toyota. Everyone loves it. They want to be a part of something special, something that helps them to generate business themselves, which in turn helps our program. So everything really is trending forward in the right direction.
I'm glad to hear that, because I was curious, like, how, as someone who is out chasing these sponsors and making these deals, are you getting that kind of feedback from the folks at Phillips Connect, from the folks at National Debt Relief, and the list goes on? Like, do they sense it? Can they sense what's happening? Because it really does. I truly believe that in the years to come, we will look back on these years and go, wow, we really were living in the glory days of drag racing right now, today. I mean, so are you getting that kind of feedback from your partners saying, holy crap, I didn't expect this many people to be here, or these TV numbers, record viewership, I believe, at the NHRA Gator Nationals? And again, I go back to that event. Man, if a fight or something would have broke out at that place, I don't think there were enough police within 100 miles to like calm that crowd down. That was a big, big crowd. So how's it help? I mean, what's the feedback you're getting from your partners?
Been a lot of really great feedback. I mean, what's not to love, right? It's awesome. Every partner has a different objective, right? For the most part, some might want just brand awareness. Others might want TV. Some want straight direct business to business and ROI. So it's different, but everyone seems to feel the same way about it. All the partners are really happy with how the sport is moving. It's moving forward in the right direction. I think we all know that because it's proven. You could see it. It's one thing to talk about it, but when you're 2 races into the season, and we're setting attendance records already, when we're setting a record for TV viewership for Gainesville, it's proven. The proof is in the pudding. So all the partners are really happy, and I would imagine that all the partners that are involved in NHRA with these other teams probably feel the same way as well. So just couldn't be happier with where the sport is right now as a whole.
So take us through last question, and we'll let you go. I had a notion that I was going to ask you, and I will. I'm going to actually not let you off the hook quite so easy, but what's the plan going into Phoenix? I mean, obviously we're early in the season. Are you guys still sorting out any sort of new combinations? You hear a lot of people talk about the 6-disc clutch deal. Are you guys pretty set in your ways when it comes to how you run the car, or are you still doing any sort of discovery this early in the season?
No, we're still doing discovery. Actually, we made a lot of testing laps early in the year, more testing laps than we ever made. And, we said, all right, we're going to take the beginning of the year to get used to this new combination and make any changes that we need to, because in the long run, we believe that's going to give us the best opportunity to compete for a championship. Now, thankfully, aside from winning being the best thing on Sunday in Phoenix, it gave us 4 more laps, right, which were so important for this new combination to get more data, to get more information. So that was critical. So yeah, we're still working some things out. The good news is if you ask me, with Mike Green and Tommy DeLago, we have the best in the business to be able to dissect that and make the right calls, as you've seen. So yeah, we're still working some things out. It's still going to take some time. We're certainly not out of the woods yet, but we have a long way to go. But we're definitely starting to catch on to something.
Who's got the hot rod? If you had to pick, like, who's got like the fastest car? Right. I mean, let's be honest. Like, who do you think is it? I mean, you're clearly in the conversation, but who do you think's got like the hot rod right now?
Well, I mean, I think right now, obviously, look, you can't count anybody out. My teammate's Antron Brown, so I'm always going to say him first, regardless. It's the guy I worry about the most is Antron. But, look at the 2 races. I think the guy who stands out to me, probably there are 2, are Doug Coletta, right, with AJ over there and how fast they're running. I know they went a 364 in Gainesville and qualified number 1 last race. And then Mike Salinas. Mike Salinas is running really good as well. So I think those 2 cars have really stood out to me over the first 2 races. And they came out ready to hit it hard. In 2023, they made that point very, very clear.
Agreed. I think we're seeing those Coletta cars perform as we expected them to perform last year, right? And that just speaks to the point you're making, that there's moving parts. There's a lot of things. People are figuring things out. Obviously, they had wholesale changes with a new program, bringing Alan Johnson and Brian Houston to the table. But clearly, those things are going to be hot rods this year. And I think I'm actually really glad to have seen Mike Salinas stay as competitive as he has, because, man, Rob Flynn, great guy. And it was cool to see him kind of like what was tumultuous situation, right? Like following Alan Johnson cannot be a comfortable situation to find yourself in. And he's done an incredible job with that. So last question is, if I get you a Pro Mod, will you race it at the World Series of Pro Mod 2024?
Yes. But you have to speak with my dad first. So, but this is a verbal commitment. Let's have a conversation. You, me, and my father. Let's make it happen.
Okay. Let's make that happen, man. Hey, thank you for everything, big dog. I appreciate it. I'm so happy for you. You know, your dad and I actually, you know, people may not know this, but let me tell this story. Mike Ashley is the kind of guy that used to buy an ad in Drag Illustrated just to help me out. He would buy a full page ad in every issue just to thank his sponsors, not like just as an exercise in like great being awesome. You know what I mean? Like he would buy an ad in the magazine. That was back when we were all newsprint. The magazine, you had to wash your hands immediately after reading Drag Illustrated because you had ink all over you. It was disgusting. But
love it.
He literally would buy an ad in the magazine and just thank his sponsors. So if there's any other racers that are looking to hook a brother up, feel free. Our Brett Underwood is available at any time. Dial him up right now. I can give you his number. But anyways, Justin, be safe this weekend. Thanks for the time, man. Shout out to Elon Warner, your PR guru, who I believe is the best in the game. So for organizing this, as always, we appreciate you, buddy. We lost him. So anyways, guys, I want to remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by way of Stroud Safety, flowracing.com, our friends at Redline Synthetic Oils, and the newest member of our sponsorship and support roster, Racers Club. That's racers.club. Check it out, the brand new premium apparel brand invading the motorsport space. JT, let's wrap this deal up. We got some questions, anything from our friends in the comments here. Oh, is
Mike actually said no. He said no.
Justin just said yes. You can't make him go back on his word. He said it on the internet.
You're going to have a conversation, it sounds like.
We're going to have a conversation. So Mike Bowman Racing, I wonder if this is the man, the myth, the legend himself, or is this someone operating his YouTube channel? Is this Mike Bowman? Mike Bowman asking my thoughts on the new MPK rules. I don't know them intimately. I skimmed through Justin Swanstrom's video on YouTube that broke down the new rules. I need to rewatch it. But what I see is a move toward, and this is something that we did at the World Series of Pro Mod. I like these rule sets that are built on competition, not on land speed racing. Like, we don't necessarily need world records. We don't need the cars to be any faster than they are. They're plenty fast, right? I mean, especially No Prep Kings is bonkers how fast those cars have gotten, but we don't need them any faster. So I think focusing on tightening up the competition, which it seems to be what they're trying to do, is tighten the field up and keep, have there be more people capable of winning. I'm a big fan of. Perhaps we can get some insight. I'm sure some of our regular viewers may be able to give us like a complete breakdown of what all the changes were. I haven't seen the document. If anybody has it and wants to send it to me, I'd love to see it. Wes@dragillustrated.com. Email it to me. I haven't seen the rules in their entirety. So before I make too many
I just wonder, like, I just wonder, because I haven't seen him, I haven't really looked at him in depth at all. Like, not that I know what the hell I'm doing, but you also can't make the rules just because of one guy.
It's tough
that Ryan Martin's out, putting in the time, putting in the tests.
The cream is always
doing his work.
The problem is, ask Todd Tutterow. The cream always rises to the top. I've watched as the sport of drag racing has done everything in its power to slow down Todd Tutterow. And the dude still always wins, always runs fast, always qualifies at the top of the field. The best racers are always going to be the best racers, no matter what. No matter what the combination is.
Remember in 275, the Breeder Brothers? I mean, they were just like they want to make that change. Then we'll just swap combinations.
It's a small block Ford with a Pro Charger. The next weekend, it's a small block with a Roots blower on it. I mean, it's incredible. The best racers are always going to be the best racers. I've seen good racers take subpar equipment and win, and I've seen bad racers take the best shit money can buy and struggle to qualify. And I'm not, that's hard for me to say because I love all these folks, but that's a true statement. I mean, there's some real truth to that good racers are going to find a way to win. They understand the harmony that is required, to make all this stuff work together. And they're able to do it one time after another, after another, after another. So anyways, what I would love to see, I think No Prep Kings right now is really challenged to get some other guys competing for a championship. Like it's going to be important. Kai Kelly has been in the mix for the last 4 or 5. I mean, finished number 2, I think, the last 3 seasons in a row. So it's not like he's not right there. But we do, for the sake of that storyline, I do think we're going to need to see Ryan Martin with a signature rival, if you will. Like Andre the Giant wouldn't have been Andre the Giant without Hulk Hogan, right? And Macho Man likely wouldn't have been Macho Man without Hulk Hogan or Ultimate Warrior. You need black hats and white hats. And I think Ryan Martin, from my opinion, is a good-looking, clean-cut, well-spoken, family man, great racer. I mean, he ticks all the boxes when it comes to a white hat, right? A baby. That's what in pro wrestling they would call Ryan Martin a baby face, right? They need some heels. I think Justin Swanstrom is happy to be a heel. I think that Kai Kelly is another guy that's happy to be a heel, but we need to make sure that there's a scenario that exists where those guys are in the thick of things at the end, right? And now, granted, both them guys had great 2023 season or 22 seasons, So I'm not trying to shortchange or discredit what they've accomplished. They're clearly right there, but I would love to see a few new characters in the No Prep Kings world. And I got to tell you, I watched every episode of the Fastest in America deal on Discovery Channel. I did, and I'll tell you why. My boy Jimmy Dale is on there, right? Tom Gunner. Shout out to my dog, right? Jimmy Dale is on there, and he's my friend. So, like, he gets in some shit with Murder Nova, and he gets some stuff stirred up, but he's my friend. He's my personal friend. And I was so proud of him to be on TV, and I'm just happy for him. So I watched all of it, and I got to be honest, I enjoyed it. Like, Alicia goes, I can't believe you're watching this, like, all of them, because I watched, like, every episode. And man, it's just so cool to see drag racing on TV. Like, I don't give a shit about gold digging. I don't really give a shit about deep sea fishing. I don't care anything about anything other than drag racing, to be honest. So to see drag racing on reality TV, like I'm here for it, man.
And you get caught up in the drama, don't you? I mean, when you start watching them,
like I'm watching it, and I think JJ DeBoss, I don't love his character on the show. Like, I like JJ personally. Like, I know him. I like JJ, but like his character on the show, I'm like, oh man, JJ, like, you're always in the midst of this stuff. You're stirring it up, but I love watching it. Like, I really do. I genuinely enjoy watching it. Because I don't care about deep sea fishing or driving a semi on snow-covered roads. Doesn't really do it for me. I don't care about buying and selling real estate. I don't care about being a housewife in Miami, which is the one my wife's hooked on right now. Miami Housewife. Do you watch all those shows? I know you.
Oh yeah. But they get worse as they go, because then the ladies on them get older.
Which this morning it's no secret that I work at the kitchen table a lot. Like, we've got this great office. I love my space here, but I like to work from home if I can. And when I work from home, I typically work at the kitchen table. It drives her crazy, but it's just where I like to be. That's the most windows in our house. I like natural light. So I'm a very specific person. I like the light that exists at the kitchen table. So I work at the kitchen table. And she brought in one this morning. She goes, you got to see this. And she brought in rewound a part of the Real Housewives of Miami. I watched about 3 minutes of it, and I wanted to just like hit myself in the face with a shovel.
Oh, it's a train wreck. That's why it's like,
I'm going, if I'm that Andy Cohen guy, I would just be in nonstop fights. Like, I'd want to fight him. You guys think you're so tough? Let's fight then. Everybody, all y'all want to fight. Let's get some UFC fighters in here, and we'll get some fights going if y'all want to fight. It's just I don't know if funny, man.
They could probably hold their own. Some of the ladies. I mean,
I saw a couple chicks that I wouldn't want to scrap with.
Yeah.
To be honest, I actually got my car got worked on last week. So I took my car into Jerry Chevrolet in Weatherford, Texas. Shout out. Maybe you'll do stuff for free or something. Anyways, my service person or whatever that was like, shook my hand, lady, almost broke my hand. I thought, I wouldn't want to, this is like a tough country lady or something. Like, she'd want to fight. It was weird. But anyways, you got to watch some of these gals, especially down here in Texas. They got boots on, maybe spurs. You got to be careful. But my point to this whole diatribe is that, man, I don't know how, if you're a car guy or if you're into drag racing, I don't know how you're not watching that stuff. I get some of it's a little bit over the top and made for TV drama, but man, I can't tell you how proud I am as someone who works in drag racing and has felt like a second-class citizen. I have. I'll be honest. I've told people before that I work in drag racing or blah, 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 and I've had them kind of turn their nose up at me. I mean, I know my place, right? I know we're not Formula One. I know we're not NASCAR. But it really makes me proud to see people doing burnouts in Fox body Mustangs on TV.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Like, these things aren't space shuttles. They're not super high end. And I'm not like poo-pooing on anybody's equipment, right? So don't get sensitive. But man, how cool is it that they're racing like street cars? You know what I mean? Like, how crazy is it that they're talking about 2810 versus 2910?
Right.
They're talking about tire sizes on Discovery Channel at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday or whatever. Like primetime TV, they're arguing about tire size slicks. I'm here for it, man. I'm cool with it. And I understand that they definitely play into the drama. And I can, some of the trailer side talks feel forced. I feel bad for some of those drivers because I know how those situations happen. And it's like, hey, we're going to come over to your trailer and we need you to say something, like say words. And you watch some of it and you're like, okay, this is clearly just a dude saying words. They pointed a camera at him. They created an expectation that he needed to say something. And he said something.
And you want to be in that storyline too. I mean, that happens in all reality shows, whether it's forced or not. They realize that they're probably going to be edited out, if they aren't in some of the drama, or if they don't say some of the stuff that people want to hear. And I mean, without that, and then we found out, when what Street Outlaws first came on, that if you were edited out, some of those guys weren't guaranteed a check. Mm-hmm. Like if they were edited out, they didn't get paid. So, I mean, you have to kind of put yourself in the middle of that. And just like you're saying with the heels, somebody's got to be that guy. Somebody's got to be the guy that goes up and is willing to say whatever.
I'm going to butcher this dude's name. What's the dude's name that's on Fast? Nathan. I don't know. He seemed like a Midwest guy or a Chicago guy or something. I feel like I've met him maybe at PRI or something, but I was impressed with his willingness to be the bad guy. Like he was clearly during the last episode that I watched, it's like he's leaning way into being a bad guy. He's leaning way into a villain role. And that's hard. We saw it last week with Manny Bajinga right here on this show Callie Nate. Thank you, Cameron Lochner. So Callie Nate, he's clearly comfortable being the bad guy. He's got no problem leaving the property with no one liking him. Where do you think he's from? He might be from Cali. That's my guess. But I really do think I like to see that, man. I like to see a guy own it. Like, hey, not everybody's going to love you. Might as well lean into whatever role you've kind of been given. We're all playing a role in those things. Everybody involved is playing a role, right? There's a character that they need you to be. And I that's what I feel like we have seen from Manny Bajinga and NHRA Pro Mod. NHRA will have missed the boat if they don't paint Manny bad and just run with it as him as a villain. That's what I would do. I would say, all right, we've got a guy that is completely comfortable being disliked, right? Yeah. Doesn't care. And you need people that are willing to wear the black hat. It's tough, because here's what you do.
Like heavy metal comes on whenever he starts in the lane. Like, whatever.
He's a bad guy. Yeah. He's a bad guy. And then what happens though, as we talked about earlier in business, you evolve. So, I mean, we've seen it with Hulk Hogan. Hogan had a heel turn. That's what they call it. Yeah. He went from yellow and red to my favorite all-time Hulk Hogan look, the blonde hair with the black beard, right? And when he went to the NWO, New World Order, right? The Wolfpack. Hold on. My fingers are screwed up, so I can't do it very well. Wolfpack, right? What? I was part of the Wolfpack, man. I owned an NWO shirt. I'll wear one next Wednesday. I'm here for it, right? I watch WWF. I'm a pro wrestling guy. I'm fine. But listen, you can go good and bad. You can evolve. Your character can evolve. So maybe they spend an entire year painting Manny Bajinga as a bad guy, but next year he brings on, maybe makes some change to his program, or he takes someone under his wing and everybody starts to like him, and he wins it. I'm just saying these things are very interesting and they keep people watching. And Billy Carroll in the comments, a dear friend of mine from the Comp Cams group in Memphis, Tennessee, got to see Billy for like 5 minutes at the Gator Nationals. Good to see you, buddy. He makes a great comment here that he doesn't like the drama of the Street Outlaw show, the No Prep King stuff and whatnot. He wants to see racing. The problem is he's the exception to the rule. Most people want to see the drama, and we don't have to worry about whether or not Billy Carroll's going to the Gator Nationals. We don't have to worry about the hardcores. That's what they call preaching to the choir, right? Those people are already churchgoers. You know where you do the Lord's work? At the bar, right? Or that's where you do the Lord's work, is you go to where people are, or you find ways to get people that aren't believers, right? And that drama that we see demonstrated week in and week out on all those Discovery Channel shows, that's what catches the interest of a passerby. And hopefully over the course of time, we can turn them in to believers. Real deal drag racing.
There was a comment earlier that someone's wife started watching, for the drama and is now a race fan. But that's how it works, right? I mean, you have to have a little of both.
You do
to appeal to everybody.
Well, and it's funny because here's an example that I think is a touch of a stretch, but it works for this particular moment. Is my wife? You watch this. You and Alicia have talked about it. You guys, what's that show that's based in Charleston, South Carolina? Southern Charm.
Southern Charm, yeah.
All right, I've never watched an episode. My wife watches them all. I think she's watched every episode of Southern Charm ever. And guess what that made her want to do? She started watching that show because of all the interpersonal drama and all the connections and all the layers.
She wanted to go to all those bars, right? And
yes.
Stuff, right?
But guess what happened? We went to Charleston together because she wanted to go. She fell in love with Charleston by way of a dramatic TV show. That's what we want to happen with drag racing, these dramatic shows. What we want to happen with No Prep Kings is someone go there for the drama and for a fist fight and to see someone spit in someone's face or whatever, but buy a ticket the next time No Prep Kings comes near them, or buy a ticket the next time there's a big drag race near them. And it's the exact same thing as what Southern Charm did in my house. Is in Southern Charm, my wife goes, "Oh my God, Charleston's beautiful. I love all the, it looks like amazing." Her and I went out there for Nate Van Wagner's wedding a couple of weeks ago.
She's a Hudson. She just wanted to party.
She did want to party. But I love Charleston. Like, yeah. I go, dude, this is one of the most amazing cities I've ever been to in my life. And I don't know. I mean, this is funny, but you have to think about these things. We never would have, we would have went to Nate's wedding if it was in Egypt. But my point is that we wouldn't have ever had our curiosity about Charleston, South Carolina, because those that know, I don't like South Carolina. So I have no desire to ever go there again. But now I want to live in Charleston. Like, I'd like to own a home in Charleston, South Carolina. That's how incredible of a city that is. So anyways, that's kind of my point, is that that's what these shows serve as.
And it's that drama. Before the racing, that's what it used to be, right? I mean, the old shows was 45 minutes of drama, getting the cars ready, everything, and then 15 minutes at the very end of the show, basically some racing. And but it's that drama that's grabbed your attention, that gets the average person that's not a fan now, or that wasn't a fan of drag racing, but gets them relating to one of the characters, and then they start following him, and then they want him to win, and then they do buy a ticket to go see the next race, and then they realize they like racing. Then maybe they go to the NHRA when they're in town. Maybe they go to the PDRA when they're in town. It just evolves, right? That we talked about earlier.
That is the goal. And again, as Hill Jack Nitro Shack is saying, when Jesus comes back, he's not coming to church, right? I mean, you got to go where the sinners are. You know what I'm saying? And that it's just what it is. So anyways, I realize that there's work to do here for the sport of drag racing away from the drag strip. It doesn't have to all be racing, right? It's behind the scenes stuff that's super important that can maybe set the hook.
That would be a t-shirt.
When Jesus comes back, he's not going to church. He's not. I promise you. I mean, you got to go. The people need help, So anyways, guys, hell of a show today. Huge shout out to Justin Ashley. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I will say we didn't really touch on this past weekend's Funny Car Chaos at all. Maybe we can riff on that, chop it up a little bit next week. But huge shout out. My big takeaway from this past weekend at the Texas Motorplex is, man, Funny Car, what Chris Graves and Tara Graves and that whole group at Funny Car Chaos has done for Funny Car racing, huge. It's incredible. What we're seeing reminds me of the early days of Pro Mod. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, right? Because they've been racing funny cars for 100 years. But Pro Mod, what Pro Mod is in 2023, like a marquee attraction with people racing them all over the planet, that was because of these little cliques of people that were racing them around the world, right? And funny cars never had that until now. Right now, you can build a funny car, buy a funny car, chase the funny car dream, and go experience it without going to an NHRA national event. Like, that's one of the NHRA's biggest issues, in my opinion, as far as nitro racing is concerned. There's nowhere to go learn how to do it. If you're gonna go top fuel racing, you basically have to go to Pomona this weekend, right? I mean, pretty much. I mean, if you have to go earn your stripes against the best in the world in front of sellout crowds on national TV, that is a tough, tough way to learn the ropes, right? To get good at what you're doing. What Funny Car Chaos represents, especially for funny car racers, is an opportunity to go earn their stripes, improve their program, race at a competitive level, chase points, do all the things that you need to get comfortable with, and then ultimately graduate up to the big show, right? So it cannot be overstated, the significance and the importance of series and events like Funny Car Chaos. So huge shout out to everybody involved with that. Massively impressive. And a huge shout out to Randy Meyer Racing, bringing out their injected nitro funny car, one of very few on the planet Earth, and putting that thing in competition right off the get-go. I believe off the trailer, an open trailer, that thing went 367, if I believe, with Julie Natas behind the wheel, awesome. A member of our Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30 alumni. Massively impressive performance. I believe they ended up going, here it is, Marco Philham in the 349 in the 8th mile. That, what they did is provide proof of concept for anybody that's been thinking about building an injected nitro funny car. Now you know it's possible. And you need people like Randy Meyer that are willing to stick their neck out, risk embarrassment, risk failure. Because here's the truth. It could have never worked. And Randy could have been laughing stock or whatever. Not that would ever be the case with a legend like Randy Meyer. But my point remains, he stuck his neck out and they went out and they had success. I know they tested in Houston earlier this year, back in February, made a bunch of runs, but that was a really, really, really incredible outing. So tip of the cap to Randy Meyer Racing, that whole family, as well as Julie Natas, who was driving that hot rod this past weekend. So anything else, T?
I think it's it, man.
All right, man. Hey, best of luck. Be safe. Good luck. Take care of your friends and family. Enjoy your successes at the racetrack this weekend. Have a great weekend. Another barn burner of a weekend lined up for the drag racing community. So be safe.
And you said barn burner a lot.
Three times, I think, today.
Yeah, I wasn't even drinking.
I was drinking.
I'm gonna just get a chalkboard in here. Start marking them up.
Just mark them down, man. Well, hey, thanks everybody for joining us. Remember, click like, click share. You would be blown away the difference it makes for all of us here at Drag Illustrated. So help us spread the gospel of drag racing. And until next time, we'll see you, I guess, next time, Tuesday, 2 p.m. No, Tuesday. Why did I say Tuesday?
Wednesday.
Why did I say Tuesday?
Wednesday. I don't know.
Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Appreciate y'all.
Later,
Thanks,
y'all.
T.